This will buy me a large Big Mac meal from McDonald's and maybe a large chocolate sundae, 20 bucks, okay? This $50 note here in 20 years time, this will get me a large Big Mac meal and a large chocolate sundae. Now, if we go down, say, 40 years down the track, it might be worth $100 of today's currency, but the products, the goods, the services are still the same. What's up, guys? Welcome to Rice and Beans Mondays, first episode of a new series where we're going to be talking about financial independence, retiring early, we're going to be talking about economy, finance, all that fun stuff, but the whole point is to bring across financial, economic, and also like fire movement concepts to you guys to help you get to that point to become financially independent, retire early, become good with money, because let's be honest, a lot of people right now do not have good financial literacy. So every Monday we're going to raise and discuss a topic to talk about, something for you to chew on over the week, think about it, be like, hey, how can I apply this knowledge to my life? Through this series, I'm compressing a decade of research and things that I've learned and passing it across to you to chew on, to think, how can I apply this to my life? Does this help me? Does this not help me? And the whole point is, together, we all learn and we all get ahead onto that path to become financially independent and retire early. So I don't know about you, but the way things are currently starting to set up and fall in place is we're all working till the day we die. I'd rather not do that. Moving through this series, we're going to be having a look at what financial independence and retiring early looks like, and I'll give you a little tip. It's not putting your feet up on the beach and sitting there on a laptop, and nothing to do with that. You need to have some purpose to your life. So we're going to run through one concept at a time, and we're going to piece it together, and then that way you can have that knowledge bank that I have in my head across into yourself, and hopefully you can make them changes. So topic 1 on this journey.
You should have bought Charizard cards when you were 10 years old, put them into a plastic container and kept them in perfect condition until you're an adult. Now you can sell them for heaps of money.
Bro, if only I did not have the discipline myself back when I was 10 years old and Pokemon cards were coming out to put them into like perfect time capsules, plastic containers to make sure they were good for like 20 years later. I did not have that kind of, dedication towards it. But it does breach us into today's topic of assets. So first and foremost, money. What is money? Well, money is currency. Money is used to exchange for goods or services. Every country has used this as a measure and it's been issued from governments and central banks. That way, people have a fair playing field to trade things around. That Big Mac meal is worth $15. That car is worth $60,000. That electrician's pretty good and he charges $120 per hour. That electrician's a little bit sketchy and he charges $80 an hour. Money allows people of a country to apply a common understanding to goods and services. Now let's get the noodle working a little bit. So let's imagine right now in your country that you're tuning in from, there is a certain amount of money. And that's all the money that exists in your country right now at this very given point like that. Now, what if someone needs a loan, or even bigger, a government needs a loan to pay for some infrastructure project they want to do? Well, there's only so much money right now in a country, so how do they get more money into the country? Generally, that person or the government would get a loan to get more money to meet the needs for their project or whatever they want to do in life. But if there's only so much money in the country right now, or only so much money in the world at any given point, where does the new money come from? Because a loan's got interest, right? So the money for the interest needs to come from somewhere, and that's where central banks are printing out money. Governments get loans from central banks, where the central bank for their country will print out more money for them to use. If the government doesn't want to use a central bank, they can get loans from financial institutions who will get issued across a treasury bond from the government with interest, saying we'll repay this back in a certain amount of time with interest. But still, that interest needs to come from somewhere, so where does the government get the money for that interest to pay across to the financial institutions? Well, once again, back to the reserve banks of the country. So the reserve banks have this little button you press and it prints money into an economy. Now, the more money that a central reserve bank prints into a country's economy, all that money that currently exists right now in that country becomes worth just a little bit less because there's more money coming in. Which brings us thick and heavy into our concept for today's video. Things aren't getting more expensive, your money's just becoming worth less. Since the 2008 financial collapse over in America, we have seen trillions of dollars printed and injected into economies. We saw a long stretch of central reserve banks issuing out loans to governments at less than a 1% interest rate. At certain points, there was a 0% interest rate, so it was free money for the governments to use, and they could just keep pulling out more and more to flood into the economy to keep the countries running. But the more money you pull out of thin air and put into an economy, the more it devalues every other dollar already existing in that economy. From 2008 across into the COVID crisis, we saw again governments printing money from their central reserves, getting more and more money flooding into the economy to try and keep that big wheel spinning. So here's the point I'm making. Things aren't becoming more expensive. Your dollar is just becoming worth less and less. So if money is on a race to the bottom to become worthless, what are you supposed to do? Well, my friends, that is assets. You need to determine what assets are. So these things that are becoming more and more expensive, a lot of the time, can be an asset. So you're looking for things that store value against money and appreciate over time as money becomes worth less and less and less. These assets, they're not increasing in price. It just takes more and more of that money to pay for that same asset. So it becomes a defense game. How can I defend the money that I have? And some assets, of course, will generate additional revenue, and some assets will appreciate over time faster than the devaluation of money. So to survive and thrive in the current economy when money's devaluing at a rapid pace is to find assets and put your money into assets. That way you protect your wealth. So let's look at some examples of assets. Okay, what about a house? A house is getting more expensive around where you live. Chances are it's, yes, real estate is increasing in value. But is it increasing in value, or is the money devaluing at a rapid pace where it takes more money to buy that same real estate asset? Now it's true, it's not just the devaluation of the dollar that's increasing real estate prices up, it's also demand as people want to move into and buy these assets. So you have a devaluing dollar, people are clamoring to try get assets because, you want a roof over your head, and real estate is a safe asset for that. Over a long period of history, real estate prices have rose. So guys, real estate is seen as a safe asset. Not only is it a roof over your head, somewhere for you to live, it adds benefit into your life, but other than that, is increasing in value quicker than the rate of the devaluation of the dollar. So real estate is a safe hedge as long as you take care of the house and do the maintenance and everything required. You don't want it to turn into like a place for one of them hoarders TV shows, but once your money's locked into that asset, your money's not devaluing anymore. You've transferred money into an asset where it's now holding, if not appreciating. So you're not going backwards. Okay, what about instead of real estate, we look at a savings account in a bank? What if we put $100,000 into a 5% per year savings account? So $100,000 in a bank account at 5% interest rate, the APY on that's probably going to be a bit over $5,000 per year in interest that you receive across to your bank account. You might think, you beauty, free $5,000. Well, it'd probably be closer to $5,721, something like that. Whatever it might be, because it compounds through monthly. So just for easy maths, guys, instead of being like $5,721, whatever the APY is on it, let's have a look at it as just $5,000 in interest across a year that you've earned from leaving your money in a bank account at a 5% interest rate. We'll just call it as compounding annually for easy math. Now that $5,000 in interest that you've earned from the bank, that's actually taxable. So you're gonna get taxed on that from the government. Now in Australia, say if you're doing pretty all right out there, say it's a 32% tax rate. So that $5,000 is probably closer to $3,200. So that $100,000 is now worth $103,200. But now let's add in the inflation that's occurring. So the devaluation of your money. So that $103,000 across a year, say if the inflation rate was 5%, and we sent it much higher, guys, we sent it up over 7% before, the target from the central banks and the government is 2 to 3%, and we're still well above that target. So say if it was 5%, that $103,000 this year, well, after inflation's occurred on it, it has the same purchasing power as about $5,200 less, something around that figure. So that $100,000 that you initially invested at the start of the year, you wait 12 months through, it now has the purchasing power after the tax and inflation is applied across, or the devaluation of the money. You probably have about a little bit under $98,000 in purchasing power. So the money that you had saved there is now buying less. So leaving money in a bank account? No, that's not an asset. You're actually losing money by leaving money in a bank account. If the interest rates from your bank are not significantly above the current inflation rate after taxes applied, you're losing purchasing value by leaving your money in a bank account. And guys, I hear you. I can't afford a house right now, and just leaving money in a bank is not giving me any gain at all. In fact, I'm devaluing my savings at this point. What am I supposed to do? Can't afford a home, leaving money in the bank's wrecked. Well guys, that's when we have a look at other assets. We have a look across to commodities. We'll have a look at crypto. We have a look at stocks. These are all assets that you can deploy money across to hedge against the devaluation of your money. You know, you've probably heard old Uncle Tom going on about put all your money into gold, put your savings into gold because gold holds its value. Maybe you've heard your nephew talking about, no, gold's a thing of the past, Bitcoin is the future. Put money into Bitcoin to hedge against inflation. Or maybe you sneak into the local yacht club, have a chat with an old bull while you're having a couple of schooners of beer, and he says, no, index funds, S&P 500, last 20 years, dollar cost averaging in, that's my retirement. Commodities, cryptos, stocks. These are assets. You go do your research, of course, guys. Some of them go up and down. Some of them go sideways. Some of them slowly increase over time. That's what you're looking for. The slow increase over time. They're the ones you're chasing to hedge against inflation. But these commodities, crypto, and stocks, you can buy partial shares of them. You can buy small little bits of them. You don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. Today is trading over $71,000 US. You don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin for $71,000. You buy a fraction of it. You'd be like, cool, I just want to buy like a 1,000th of a Bitcoin for $71. And sure, it can go up, it can go down, but it is guaranteed that your money will devalue if you do nothing with your money. So you got to be proactive here, guys. And here's the thing. What do you want to do? Do you want your money to just devalue over time further and further and further, become more and more and more worthless? Or are you going to take steps to try and put your money into assets that's going to survive that decline? So that's the whole point of this video, guys. Start looking for assets. Start researching assets. What small bit of money that I have right now can I put into an asset? If I'm trying to save for something and it's devaluing at 5-6% per year because money's devaluing from inflation, how can I offset that to keep the value of the thing that I'm trying to save for? So homework, guys, and yeah, I know, we love homework. We all remember our school days of being good little kids doing our homework and saying the dog ate it like, once a week just to get out of it. But hey, no dog's eating your homework this time. Homework time. So I want you guys to go have a look around or share your knowledge. Either way, in the comments section down below, what is an asset that you would move money into? What is an asset that you use yourself or you could use for yourself to offset against the devaluation of the dollar? So guys, I just want to hammer my point in. So this $20 note right here, this will buy me a large Big Mac meal from McDonald's and maybe a large chocolate sundae, 20 bucks, okay? Now, if we go down the track, go down the path, this $50 note here in 20 years time, this will get me a large Big Mac meal and a large chocolate sundae. It'll be $50, not $20. Inflation's increasing. The money's devaluing over time, but the products, the goods, the services are still the same. Now, if we go down, say, 40 years down the track, so say you're retiring. You're 20 years old right now and you're going to retire at 60. Well, that large Big Mac meal and chocolate sundae might be worth $100 of today's currency. So if you had $100 for the next 40 years, guess what? That's going to be a Big Mac meal. I'm sure there's smarter ways for you to deploy this cash into assets to make sure that this $100, well, that can still buy 4 or 5 Big Mac meals in 40 years time. That's the whole point of this, guys. This stuff here, devaluing, becoming worthless. Over time, it is a race to zero. So you've got to find assets to put your money into to make sure that this is still worth something for you in the future. But leave down below in the comments, what are some assets, okay? Homework. All right, guys. But on that, that's been Rice and Beans Mondays. We talk about these concepts. We're going to run through it. We're going to go deeper and deeper. If you like this kind of content, make sure you smash the like and subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next one. Who are your legends? Peace out.